Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. Today we're excited to have Lee Rogers, president of Real Protect, an insurance provider in the real estate investment space. Lee is a veteran of the industry with a strong family background that propelled him into the industry as well as achieving long-term success. Now as president of Real Protect, Lee continues to be a strong leader for his organization, offers innovative insurance products for clients, and is able to educate anyone interested in learning more about insurance through their website. Let's dive into his story and the impact he's had on the industry. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Uncontested Investing. I'm your host, Nate Zielinski, and today I'm honored to be joined by President of Real Protect, Lee Rogers. Lee, first of all, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to this conversation with your industry experience, your knowledge, your insights. I think our audience is going to learn a lot today. Where I start with every guest, though, is your start in the industry. What intrigued you initially about real estate? What made you decide to get into this business? School, family? What did that start look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Real estate's really kind of always been in my blood. Even though I'm in the insurance industry, the real estate market has always been something that's been part of my family. My father was a real estate attorney, and he ended up his career as the real estate commissioner for the state of Georgia. So real estate's always been something that's just been part of the family. And when I had an opportunity through the insurance industry to really get involved in the real estate side of the insurance industry, is something that we recognized as an opportunity and took advantage of.
Yeah, you must be proud of your career, but your father, that's no small feat to rise to where he did. So how much of an asset has that been for you to have somebody in the family that you can go to for advice, somebody that has the industry knowledge, the ins and outs pretty much of everything? I feel like that's got to be a leg up on the competition to have dad being able to help you out.
He passed away a few years ago, but he always was very patient and understanding, helping me understand real estate, how things worked, just the technicalities, how precise that you have to be. And I apply those same principles to the insurance side of the ledger as well, because the same thing applies. You have to be very, very precise in the insurance world when you're looking at an asset and insuring it to make sure it's done correctly.
So as president of the company, I think there's one thing that sticks out to me is you don't take your role as a leader lightly at all.
No.
Are there principles for leadership that you've kind of stuck to throughout your career? What has your journey been like for you being able to kind of master your own leadership style and then having that translate to how you lead your company?
Yeah. I feel like probably the best thing that I bring to our company is a sense of patience and grace, right? Everybody is learning. The insurance industry can be a difficult one to get into and to understand. And everybody's going to make some mistakes at some point in their career. But we want to be able to learn from those mistakes and grow from those. And that's one of the things that I think that I really bring is just this patience and understanding, because when we started the company, we started with one client. We'll talk about that in a little bit more in a bit. But they were patient with us, and I've tried to take those same principles and apply it to my employees and my clients and the insurance company partners that we work with as well. So really that combination, I think, of patience and then showing that grace to employees when they do make a mistake. And instead of it being a mistake, we term it a learning opportunity. Yep. And then the last thing is having fun, right? I mean, don't take yourself too seriously. Get your work done when it's time to get it done, but also don't forget, why you're working, right? We say folks don't work for us. They don't. They work for their family. They just happen to spend 7 or 8 hours a day with us at our office trying to work with our clients and help lenders like RCM place insurance to get those loans closed.
That's a little bit of an insight to my next question as well with the culture that you've been able to create. I imagine every decision is very important as president of a company, right? It can have ripple effects for every employee at Real Protect. Mm-hmm. How has culture been cultivated for you when you're talking about people that you bring into the company or partners that you work with?
Yeah.
Has that been a fun journey, a challenging one?
Absolutely. It's been fun and challenging, of course. I mean, anything worthwhile is definitely challenging. But what I would say, too, is the culture that we've tried to create, again, is one of and having a workplace that you enjoy coming to work, number one. But then number two, you could work at the most fun place in the world, but if you don't see the opportunity for growth, personally and professionally, then you're not going to keep your employees, and then they in turn are not going to try to translate that, to that customer service aspect of what we do. And so I'm really proud of a culture of empowerment for our employees.
Sure.
We have employees that are owners of our company now that came in with no prior industry knowledge and have grown personally and professionally. And like a lot of companies, several years ago we had an issue with turnover, but I'm really, really proud of the core group of employees that we have that have been with us for a number of years. The first two employees that I had at Real Protect are still with us today. They both are part owners of the company. So I think when you can show an employee, number one, that they have a path to long-term financial wealth and opportunity and growth that's rewarding, I think that's a really important culture to communicate. And then as well, we try to be on the cutting edge technology-wise, not only for our employees, but also for our clients and our customers. We want to continue to try to be out in front and understanding what's going on in the industry. The insurance industry historically has been one that's been a little bit behind the curve from a technology perspective, but that's changing quickly, and we're trying to keep up with that as well.
Yeah, that's got to be very empowering for you, I think, as a president, right? There's always going to be the money, the awards, the rewards. But when you actually have employees that have stuck with you since day one, that have been able to rise to a leadership or have ownership in the company, I imagine that's just as rewarding as some of the other stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I'm of the mindset now that I still feel like I'm relatively young, but, I've got maybe a few gray hairs, but, I'm already working towards who's going to be my replacement, right? And I think that's a healthy way to think about things, because you want to create a company that is going to survive you. That's that legacy that I think folks can help create. And a great legacy is to have a company that you can leave to somebody for the next generation to pick up the mantle and take that leadership.
Sure. And you mentioned it a little bit with technology, staying ahead of the curve. You offer innovative insurance products. How important were those to create the private lending space, kind of where RCN fits into it? We offer very creative financing. That's kind of a buzzword or a term that gets thrown around. So I imagine you kind of took that model and used it for your insurance products. What was that process like, creating those custom products that people want and use from you guys?
Yeah. So Real Protect has been around for, over a decade now. And we recognized very early in the single family rental industry. First of all, the single family rental industry has been around for decades and decades and decades. However, the attention and the technology that's been devoted to the industry over the last decade has really accelerated. And so we recognized very early on that insurance was a difficult for the way that loan agreements are written, because you have a commercial loan agreement on a residential asset, which can kind of make the insurance industry's head explode. It's not necessarily the easiest product sometimes to place. So we recognized very early on that lenders had some pretty difficult insurance requirements to meet, that maybe somebody couldn't, a real estate investor couldn't just go get a policy really, or a product off the shelf from their local agent. So what we did is we took a look at those requirements. We went to some insurance company partners in markets and said, hey, here are these requirements. And then we approached lenders and said, hey, we can provide a loan compliant insurance product that's going to be competitively priced and give your borrower the coverage that they need. We would just like the opportunity to provide some quotes for your borrowers. And that model has worked very, very well.
Nice.
Yep.
I love that foresight. So, guys, as you can see, there's a reason we had Lee on today. The expertise, the insights, the leadership that he brings to the table, not only with his company, but within the industry itself. Stay tuned. This is going to be a good one. We're taking our first break, and we'll be right back with the Money Making Minute. REI Inc. is the premier monthly publication for real estate investors. Dive into a wealth of expert insights and knowledge from industry leaders and gain valuable regional market insights, ensuring you always have the best information right at your fingertips. Visit REIinc.com to elevate your real estate investment game today. Welcome back to this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. Happy to be joined by Lee Rogers, president of Real Protect. And Lee, it's time to put you on the spot for the first time with our Money Making Minute. So just as a reminder, this is an investment strategy, app, skill, habit, daily part of your routine, anything that you think helps you be more successful that you want to share with our audience that they can take with them into 2025 and beyond. Let's hear your Money Making Minute.
My money-making minute would be it's really going to be two parts. One is going to be professional, one's going to be personal. One, professionally, understand your insurance. I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but the worst time to try to figure out what your insurance policy says is when you have a claim, and if you find out that the claim's not covered. So whether you are a client of Real Protect or you have insurance through your current broker, really take a look at that insurance, understand what your policies say, understand what your exposure is from a deductible perspective, what your coverages do and don't, what your policy does and doesn't cover. And if you need assistance with that, go to a broker that you trust and has some expertise in the industry and can help you think about insurance in a way that becomes a part of your daily business. And insurance isn't just the product, it's also risk management, right? So what are the things that you can do to avoid claims? We have found that when there is good professional property management in place, that claims are significantly reduced. So whether you self-manage your properties or you have a third-party property management company, really focus in on those things that can help you avoid and reduce your risk. And if you have questions about that, I'm happy to sit down with you, talk about it, hop on a call to discuss, or visit our website at realprotect.com. The other thing I would say is personally, pay attention to your health. I had a significant health scare about a year ago, and I didn't listen to my doctors. And it could have been really, really a different situation, but it was something that was caught. So pay attention to what your body's telling you. Stay in shape, get some exercise, eat well, get good sleep. And those are the things I can really speak to from personal experience because I've lived it. So.
I think those are two very great pieces of advice. And, going back to the working out, staying healthy, staying in shape, I think it's always important for our audience to hear that, especially if they're investors that get into this and, go full bore at it. And, the grind can take over, right? And you can't sustain that output forever. So taking care of your health, taking care of your body allows that longevity. I want to go back a little bit, though. You talked about tech and innovation and staying ahead of the curve. How has that helped with your customer experience? What specifically are you doing in the tech space to help your company be a little bit more efficient, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned it, the insurance industry is traditionally, I feel, has been a little bit behind the curve on the technology front. And we've seen some interesting movement in this arena because we've seen some technology companies now get into the insurance space versus the insurance companies getting into the technology space. And so I feel like that definitely brokers innovation on both sides. And so for Real Protect, for us, we've recognized that there are a lot of new players in the industry that have this insurtech approach to this industry. So what we've done, and we're really excited, we are coming out with a new, actually brand new website the beginning of December of 24 that is going to do what's called comparative rating, where you put in an address and you can get a policy quote from multiple different carriers that include some of those insurtechs that are becoming prevalent in the single-family rental industry. So what we're doing is aggregating all of those companies into one marketplace. And then we can offer our professional advice on top of that, because sometimes folks, insurance, let's face it, is a confusing product. Again, most folks get their insurance education when they have a claim, and God forbid you have a claim, and hopefully you never do. But when those things happen, a lot of folks get their insurance education from that. So what we found is, while the technology is great, folks still want to have a counselor or an agent that they can talk to just to understand things. And we feel like we do a really good job of explaining things to investors in a way that helps them understand. So we feel like we've married that part of it with also the technology. So we're really excited about that and bringing that solution to the market.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was really impressed with when I visited your website prior to the recording was the robust learning center that you
Mhm.
actually provide. I think it really takes a lot of the education and puts it in one place, makes it easy to understand for potential clients. So, how happy were you about completing that initiative? How much have you seen that learning center kind of increase value, not only for your company, but to the clients that you're looking to serve?
Yeah, absolutely. And we call that our risk management toolbox, right, in the Learning Center. And it gives investors just some tools, things to think about, like how to evaluate a property, right, to understand, every property in the United States is mapped into a flood zone. Now, most properties are not in a flood zone, but they're all mapped into a flood zone. And so what if your property's in a flood zone? What if your tenant has dogs? I mean, there are certain dogs traditionally and certain dog breeds that may not be covered under an insurance policy. Um, there are tools out there for good property management. So we're really happy with that risk management toolbox we have on our website. It's ever evolving. We're always adding to it and adding new things. We've seen over the last several years a really significant increase in the cost of building materials and the cost of labor. That's that inflation everyone's felt. And so the cost to build a new home or replace a home is significantly increased, right? And so we try to help folks understand that there is a difference between market value and replacement value. The insurance industry really cares about what's the cost to replace a property, not necessarily the market value. And so how do we marry those two things? And so there's some great information on our website for that. And it's free for anyone to use, whether you're a client of ours or not.
Yeah, I encourage anybody that's out there listening, if they have any questions, I think that's
Yep.
a one-stop shop there to kind of make it all make sense, if you will, before, as you mentioned, insurance can be confusing.
Yep.
You guys try to simplify it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So moving back to, I guess, the competitive marketplace that you're involved in, I think insurance, and especially in the real estate market, has seen a bit of a boom, as you mentioned, with the marrying of tech, kind of taking it to the next level. What has been the key for you experiencing longevity and maybe even staying at the top and at the front of the mind of the consumer with so many options out there? I have to imagine it's got to be a challenge or something that you see as a goal and you take on, and staying at the top of the industry.
Yeah, I think one of the things that that Real Protect does, and that I've kind of taken the approach of, is kind of what we just talked about, was the information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like we've talked about a little bit, we work with a number of lenders, and we are always happy to help answer questions, again, because insurance is one of those can be one of those confusing things. We're happy to always consult with lenders. We don't charge for that. What does this mean? So you have a lot of lenders that have originators that are trying to explain insurance requirements to a borrower. We're happy to help bridge those conversations. So we just want to make ourselves available to those folks that are making transactions happen. And again, where we identified was that there's lenders, there's online marketplaces, there's property management companies that are there in an influencing decision or influencing a position for those borrowers or their clients to make that decision regarding insurance. And we just want to be there to provide that information. So I think just being willing to share knowledge is really, really a really, really powerful thing, and not expecting anything in return. When you do that, you're going to get something in return generally.
We talk about it a lot on this podcast, but that pay it forward mentality,
Absolutely.
especially in this industry, it's not always as apparent as it seems, but there's a lot of people willing and having that mentality, and I think it just pays extreme dividends.
Yeah, those are generally the most successful folks too.
For sure.
There's no coincidence.
Yep, I agree completely. Back to Real Protect and how you've been able to expand, right? Not only have you stayed at the top of the marketplace, but you've been able to expand. You're in 50 states and 15 countries, if I have that right. So not only is that very impressive, but how proud are you been able to take this on a little bit of a global scale, crossing, the U.S. borders, and any growing pains with that? I imagine, some more challenges kind of crop up, but you seem like the guy in the company that, takes those head on.
Yeah, absolutely. So we insure properties in all 50 states. We have clients from around 15 countries now, I believe, from around the world insuring U.S. properties. We don't insure properties in other countries, but we have clients that are from other countries. And, it's been really interesting because you have folks that are halfway across the world asking you questions about insurance, and you're getting exposed to other cultures and other ways of doing business and trying to explain things to folks. Sometimes there's a language barrier. Sometimes there's time zone differences and things like that are just really difficult, or you have to accommodate. I remember very early, one of my first clients was in Australia, and having a phone call with him at 10 o'clock at night Eastern time to discuss insurance. It's really, it's just, I think, kind of a microcosm of the global economy that we live in now. And then the other thing I would say too about that is, in insurance world, when you see disasters that, even though you may live in California, if you see a hurricane in Florida, or you live in Florida and you see wildfires in California, or you see global disasters like wildfires or floods across the world, the insurance industry is global. And the way it works is those types of really big events that cost the insurance industry a lot of capital and dollars are things that are going to ripple out into the global economy eventually and cause insurance premiums to increase. And so as we have more and more of those events across the globe, there is an insurance company or a reinsurance company that's ultimately paying those premiums, and that eventually will seep its way into the premiums that you pay for your insurance. It's all connected.
Yep. Awesome. Lee, thank you so much for the insight, not only for your company, but, insurance as a bigger picture. We're going to take our second and final break of the episode, but stay tuned. We'll be right back with Deal Breaker, Deal Maker. At Real Protect, they understand the unique needs of real estate investors. Protect your rental properties with customized insurance designed to keep your investments safe. Visit realprotect.com today and get the coverage you can count on. Real protection for real investors. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined today by Lee Rogers, president of Real Protect, and it's time for the Deal Breaker, Deal Maker. So, Lee, this is going to be a moment in your career that you see as pivotal, vital to your success. Maybe it was a springboard, a launching pad, whatever phrase you'd like to use, but something that you can look back on, whether it's fondly or maybe it was a turning point or a low point that's really allowed you to experience the success you have with Real Protect.
My deal breaker, my deal maker would be, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier in the pod. Real Protect started with one client. We started with a client that we started insuring their properties. They were a fund that they were buying properties all over the country. We started by insuring just the properties in Georgia where we're physically located. And that client took a chance on us to provide insurance for his entire portfolio. And we grew with that client. We continued to grow with that client until they ultimately disposed of the company, their company, as happens in this single-family rental industry, into a larger company. But that client gave us some really good advice early on. He said, you don't want to insure the big guys like me. You want to try to go after the smaller investor. And that is still true today. We insure a lot of really large clients, but we also insure folks that are just getting started with one property. And so we don't ignore the quote unquote the little guy, because if you look at the statistics in the industry, it is still majority run by the smaller investors. But going back to that one client, they were one of the very first really large loans. They did one of the very first really large loans in the industry over a decade ago. And there was an insurance consultant that was part of that process. And being from the South, this consultant was from the North. And as always, I like to call it just maybe a little bit of a language barrier. But he's very direct and to the point. And he wasn't sure that we would be able to meet the insurance requirements. But that one client stuck by us, took a chance on us, and I really had some resentment towards this consultant because I felt like he was trying to get in the way of me keeping this one client, and I was actually being able to sit here today still as Real Protect. But what happened was I got on an airplane and went and visited that consultant, took him to lunch, and we didn't talk about insurance. We just talked about each other and talked about our businesses, and he unknowingly was a great mentor for me. And he said, I'm also consulting with a couple of smaller lenders and they need a good insurance person. Would you be willing to quote those products and provide insurance for these loans? And so I took what I felt like was an adversarial relationship and flipped it into a positive relationship. And that really was a springboard for where we are today. And so I would encourage folks not to let those folks that you perceive as negative in your life to define that relationship with that person, but find that common ground, find something with that person that you can identify with, and turn those relationships into positives. And you never know what the possibilities will be.
Very powerful answer. I like that perspective a lot. And it kind of ties into the next question as well, going back to the pay it forward mentality and, not willing to close any doors or shut off any relationships. But you yourself have had the opportunity to be somewhat of a prominent public speaker within the industry. People love hearing you talk, seminars, trade shows, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
How much do you look forward to that? How important has that been for your career? And, that's kind of been your opportunity to give back or pay it forward like we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're here at the IMN West show, and, I've been a panelist and a moderator at the shows for a number of years. I always enjoy getting to be in front of folks and discuss the insurance industry and how it relates to what's going on. What we've seen over the last several years as insurance has become a larger line item on the expense side of the ledger is that insurance is getting a little bit more attention as something that needs to be understood and how to contain those costs or try to contain those costs. So I've always enjoyed that. As far as paying it forward, it's interesting now. I've got other folks in my company that are on those panels. I want them to have the opportunity to be the ones on stage to be able to create their networks and to get them empowered and to have those opportunities just like I have. So it's been fun. I still like to do it, but I'm also excited to have others in my organization that are able to do it as well. It's really rewarding.
For sure. And it ties into mentoring a little bit. You've talked about having a few yourself. That's an opportunity for you to give back. How important do you think it is for people in this industry, maybe not just investors, but other industry professionals, to find that mentor, to have somebody that you look up to, can go to for advice, all those good things? I mean, it's certainly been a benefit to you. What do you think about mentorship?
Yeah, no, mentorship is, it's the lifeblood of business and life. I mean, really, it's, to have those folks that you can go to, get advice, whether it's about something business related or personal, to have people that you could go to get that advice is a powerful thing. And it's something I think any leader has a responsibility to be for the folks that they work with.
And that funnels nicely into the trade show and networking of it all. Not only are there opportunities to get in front of a crowd and speak, but you also have the shaking of hands, people coming by the booth and being able to have those one-on-one conversations. Sometimes those are just as important, if not more impactful, than speaking in front of a large room. So how has networking helped Real Protect, and how important has it been for you personally?
Oh, absolutely. Networking is how you expand your business and also obviously your personal network, but it's not being afraid to go up to somebody and engage in conversation. One of the things we do at our booth is every time you go to a trade show that you walk up, and before you put your booth up, there's just a table and two chairs. Well, we take the table away because the table we feel like is a barrier to having those conversations. So we stand up and we're there and we're trying to, actively engage with folks or walk around and see folks that you either know or you've heard of, or go find out what these companies do. We used to be the only insurance booth that would come to these shows, and now there's a lot of them, but a lot of them are companies whose products we actually sell. And so, you could view them as a competitor, but, we view them as an opportunity to partner with them. And so whether it's somebody in your industry or outside of your industry, these trade shows are wonderful because it brings all the folks together in one spot. And I really, for anybody in any business, find a group, find a mastermind, find folks that will, that you can network with, but don't make it a one-way street either. It's got to be a two-way street.
Yeah. I actually really like that approach too, of taking away the table, kind of, removing that barrier. If any RCN Capital employees are listening to this, our head might explode. We have so much swag, and the table is like our life. But I can see the benefit of
set it off to the side. Just have them standing there and engaging in conversation.
No, that's perfect. And it kind of, like you said, it's people walk right up to you, and those conversations are.
There's nothing more discouraging when you're trying to go to talk to somebody and they're sitting there on a laptop. I mean, that's fine. Folks have work to do. But if your job's to be at the trade show, then you need to be up there.
There's a time and a place. And
absolutely.
We got to be locked in, and those people deserve
your company is investing a ton of money to be there in you and in the trade show and the booth and all that and the travel. You got to make the most of those opportunities. And we really, our business exploded by participating in these trade shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as we talk about next steps, we're meeting here early December of 2024. Are there goals on the bulletin board for 2025? What's the next year or next chapter look like for Real Protect?
Yeah, I mentioned it early as well. We've got a brand new website that's actually going live this Friday, where we'll be offering some comparative rating, and we're really excited to take that tool to the public. Anybody can go out to the website at realprotect.com and get a quote from multiple carriers, but we're also excited to take that tool to lenders, where they don't have to send us an email or give us a call or request a quote. They'll be able to go on. It's very easy to navigate. They'll be able to go on, get a quote for them, or give it to their borrowers for them to go on the website. And so we're really, really excited to bringing that tool to the SFR space.
That's awesome. And for you personally, looking at the industry, I know you've mentioned a health scare. This industry is very grueling, very grinding. A lot of investors that take that I can't stop working approach experience that burnout much quicker than others. And I love having successful people on and proving that they can actually have an outlet or a passion project or something that helps them refresh or recharge.
Yep.
What does that look like for you when you're not president of Real Protect? You get to take a time out for a little bit before you jump back into the office. What does your outlet look like?
I mean, I love to play golf. And so I always have, and it's one of the things I really enjoy. So I try to take time to be sure I can do that, at least once a week. I'm thankful to live in a part of the country where you can do that. Mm-hmm. So I do enjoy that. I enjoy spending time with the family. I enjoy University of Georgia athletics.
Oh yeah.
So
couple of weeks.
Go Dogs. We got a lot. Oof. We got a lot coming up, but it's been a fun ride for that. But I also enjoy being involved in my community, volunteering. I'm going to be the incoming president of the United Way in my community. I'm also involved in another couple of organizations that I volunteer my time and resources to help them. And I think that's really important for folks to recharge, is to be able to get out of the office, because if I didn't do those things, I would be in the office all day, every day. And so to occasionally be able to get out, go participate in a board meeting, or offer your expertise or advice to organizations, nonprofits, I think is a really, really worthwhile cause.
Those are all great points there. My brain immediately goes to golf. Yeah, I've played a couple rounds in November in like 40-degree weather. It's been crazy, but I'm addicted. I can't help it. But I'm putting two and two together from Georgia, golf. Have you ever been to the Masters? Is that a bucket list item for you?
I've been to the Masters dozens of times, and it's a great place. It's a really neat experience if you ever get the opportunity.
I get chills just thinking about it. I love everything about that place. I've only seen it on TV, but that's one of those sporting events that shaped my childhood for sure.
Even better in person.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's awesome. So I think the last thing to do besides realprotect.com is, how can people find more about you, your mission with Real Protect? Are you guys on social media? Do you use it personally? How can people follow up with Lee Rogers and learn more about what you guys are trying to do over there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have social media. We have LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. But awesome. Visit realprotect.com. Our contact information is out there. Shoot me an email. I mean, give me a call. Always happy to have a conversation with folks. One of the things I've found that's been so interesting in my career is, again, you talk about the really successful folks. Really successful leaders to me are accessible. And I like to feel like I tell my employees, I tell my clients, the door's always open. Feel free to reach out. We're always happy to help, give you advice. One of my favorite things to do in the world is to take a look at somebody who's got an insurance policy and they're in the right spot. They've done a good job of buying the insurance and it's well priced. And we tell folks, hey, you've got a good deal. When things may not turn out, or they have a situation in the future, they typically think of us because we're giving them good, honest advice. We're not just trying to sell a product. So I think if you come from that place, it's really good. So just visit us,
Yep.
realprotect.com. The email's on there, social media, Real Protect on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that. We're there and ready to serve.
Love it, Lee. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure sitting down and talking with you. I've learned a lot.
Great.
I think our audience has too. This has been an impactful episode. So thank you so much.
Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
And for our listeners, there you have it. Lee's accessible. By the time this episode is dropped, the website has been updated. So check out realprotect.com. Should be a link below in the description of the YouTube video. And for our Uncontested Investing listeners, this is just a reminder. Comment your favorite part about this episode with Lee. Like the video. Subscribe. It helps our community grow. It helps us bring on great guests such as Lee Rogers from Real Protect. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm signing off. This is Nate Zielinski. We'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.